Hello everybody, I am back with another video today. Today we are continuing with Baking Yesteryear with the Dutch apple cake. This is an upside down cake. I've made pineapple upside down cake before, but I've never made an apple one, and I am super excited to give this one a try. This recipe was actually one of the recipes that was helped me make up my mind on whether or not I wanted to get this cookbook or not. And I was kind of flipping through it and seeing this, and I'm like, yep, I gotta get this because I gotta make this cake. Just because I do love apple desserts. Um, as you guys know, I do really like fall flavors when it comes to desserts, especially apple ones. Apple desserts are some of my favorites. I love apple pie. Um, Apple cake and stuff like that. This is a different apple cake. I've never made an apple upside down cake before, which is essentially what this one is going to be. So I am really looking forward to giving this a try and everything. Um, so let's get into it so we can enjoy the Dutch apple cake today. All right, so for our apple layer, we've got some nutmeg, some butter, brown sugar, and then some apples. I am using some Granny Smith apples here. The recipe did recommend Granny Smith, Honeycrisp, or Gala apples. I got some Granny Smith here. They are sliced and in some water just so they don't turn brown and get all nasty looking on me. So this will go in the bottom of the cake pan, and then after it's baked, we will flip it over and it will be on top. And then our cake layer, we've got flour, we've got baking soda, salt, cinnamon, and nutmeg. The recipe did call for mace, but it said you could substitute nutmeg, so I did do the substitution with the nutmeg since I already had it out. We've got some more butter, we've got an egg, and then we've got some buttermilk here. So this is everything that we are going to be using for the Dutch apple pie. Let's get started with the apple layer. Okay, so I did spread the butter around my cake pan. I got it all up on the sides, and everything. The next step we are going to do is mix the brown sugar and nutmeg and sprinkle that in the pan. Once I have that done, I will be back. All right, so this is the nutmeg and the brown sugar mixed together, and in the pie crust, I am going to put the apple slices on top of this and then set my cake pan aside while I am making the cake batter. All right, so I've got my apples in the cake pan here. I did have some apple slices left over, but that's okay. I can make some like baked apples or may just eat them, peanut butter or something. I'll figure out something to do with the leftover apple slices. But for now, I am going to set this aside and we are going to get started on the cake batter. All right, so in here I am combining the flour, baking soda, salt, cinnamon, and nutmeg all together. This smells so good. I love the cinnamon and the nutmeg together. I feel like I say that every time I make a recipe that uses those spices, but I really do love them. They always have such a good scent. All right, so that is mixed together. We are going to add in the butter and get that mixed in. Once I have that ready to go, I will be back. All right, so I have the butter mixed in to the flour mixture. I am going to beat the egg into the buttermilk, and then we are going to get that mixed into our dry ingredients. All right, so I've got the egg and the buttermilk all mixed in together. We are going to add the liquid to our dry ingredients, and I am going to get this all mixed up. So I was in the process of beating or mixing this in and realized that I completely forgot the sugar out of the cake. There is sugar in this. I did completely forget about that when I was getting out all my ingredients today. So I did just want to pop in there and say there is sugar in this. I'm going to get this mixed in together and um, put this on um, the cake and get it in the oven. All right, so I have my cake ready to go in the oven. I did add a little extra buttermilk to the cake batter. It just wasn't wanting to mix up. It seemed a little dry, so I did just add a little splash of buttermilk to it, and it was better after that. I'm going to get this into the oven, and after it's done, we'll take a look at it. All right, so my cake is done. I flipped it out onto a plate here. It looks really good. I cannot wait to give it a try. The recipe did say to serve this while it was still warm, and that after it cools down, it does tend to get really moist in the center. So I am going to try this here pretty shortly, and then I will be back with my final thoughts. I do also want to say really quick that I did bake this longer than what the book recommended. It just wasn't quite done after the recommended baking time, so I did leave it in there about an extra 10 minutes and it did seem done. With that said, I am going to cut a slice and give this a try, and I will let you know what I thought of it. All right, so I am back with my final thoughts on the Dutch apple cake. It was okay. I was actually a little bit disappointed with this recipe. It didn't turn out bad. Nothing like that. I just wasn't quite as good as I thought it was going to be. I just was expecting it to be better than what it was. It's not horrible or anything like that. We'll still finish it and still eat it. The cake won't go to waste. It wasn't that bad or anything like that. It just I guess was just one of those recipes I had really, really high hopes for because it sounded really good and is normally something I really like with the apples in it. And it just did not meet those expectations. I really don't know what it was. The apple layer on it was really good. I did really like the flavor in that, but the cake itself was a little plain. I just felt like it was missing something, maybe more spices or something. It did have a slight spice cake flavor to it, but it really wasn't that strong of a flavor. The only part of it that really had a good flavor was the apple layer. Um, so if you got a bite of cake without the apple layer in it, it was just kind of plain, and I think that is what was kind of disappointing to me. I think I do prefer like a regular apple cake instead, where the apples are like mixed into the cake batter and you just get that nice apple flavor all around. I guess it's what I was kind of expecting out of this, and it just wasn't. Um, I won't say you should make it. Like, I'm not going to recommend, I can't really recommend this recipe, but I can't not recommend it either. Um, I'll leave it up to you if you want to try it or not. It just wasn't something that was as good as I thought it was going to be, and I probably will not make this one again, but it wasn't horrible either. Um, so yeah, there we are. Um, Next week I will be back with a rye bread recipe. That is a recipe. the rye bread recipe I'm using is from a recipe that I found online that I really want to try. So we are stopping Baking Esryear for next week, and then we will be back with that the following week after that. Just the rye bread just kind of went a little bit better with some of the other stuff I'm planning on making next week for the house. And didn't want to do too many desserts all at once, and we do have a different dessert planned for next week that we are planning with some of our meals. So I decided to make a rye bread, which will go really great with what we're having the day that I'm making it. Um, so I am really looking forward to sharing that with you, but we will get there next week. So until then, good times, good food. Bye.